Alrighty. Hi, all. My name is Ava Davis here with Out on Film, and today we're talking to filmmakers from our Latinexcellence block. This incredible block of four short films screens on Saturday, October 5th at 4:30 at Outfront Theater. And also, you can catch our screening virtually from October 6th to October 13th. Now, the shorts being screened are Body of Christ, Papi, Quinceañera, y Barbie Boy. So, with that said, can we go around the room and introduce ourselves and the film you worked on? And I guess we will start with Remy.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name's Remy. I grew up in LA, but my mom is from Puerto Rico, so that's sort of my like Latin background. Um, Barbie Boy was a thesis film that I was able to make at USC when I was finishing up my master's there in film production. And the idea sort of generated within the last few years of being in the program. I had just a bunch of my older family relatives that started to pass on. And a lot of them were really like my sort of connection to my Latin identity. And I've always sort of felt on the outskirts of being Latina, of being queer, of being all of these different things, of not feeling like queer enough, Latin enough. And so I think with all of that sort of in the atmosphere, I sort of gave birth to Barbie Boy, which is a story about Simon, who is trying to navigate his most important relationship with his abuela, his grandmother, while also staying true to who he is, which involves cross-dressing and exploring his identity as possibly a woman. So that's a little bit about me and about my film, and I'm excited to hear about everybody else.
And just a quick follow-up question. Can you tell me the approach to production design, especially the house? There was a beautiful broken down quality to everything.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, production design was so important to me because again, like this project was really rooted in like similar experiences that I've had with my loved ones and thinking about like character as a place, right? And so from so many of my like older relatives, like their home was sort of like their temple, and just like having the like lineage and the like connection to their identity like surrounded in their apartments or their homes was always so important. So I really wanted to capture that with Barbie Boy, which is why we ended up spending way too much money on production design, but it was very much worth it. um yeah, I
It
mean,
was
even like,
noticed. Yeah, it
oh,
was
I'm so
noticed.
glad we actually built the closet that we shot that like sort of his like dancing sequence in. Like we built that from pretty much scratch. So that was so intense, but also just like really what I like everything that I wanted it to be and more. Like I feel like we were able to capture like the sultriness and like the how, just like
So
everything that Simon was like dreaming of and I idealizing and whatever, like he was able to step into that once he stepped into that closet while also representing his grandmother. So anyways, that's a little bit about that.
I love it. Let's head over to Jessica next.
Hello, Jessica, the writer and director of Quinceañera, which is about an angsty teenager who is being pressured into having a quinceañera by her mom. But then once she starts vals practice, she meets this shy girl, and that's where she starts to feel a mixed feelings of like confusion and joy. So yeah, that's Quinceañera.
I want to say I almost died when there was that moment of Dani talking to her friend about only talking to Angie because of her mom. Like I ran out of the room full. Like I don't do well with uncomfortability, but also the payoff was really worth it. So like the story, it felt like a very shortened, a wonderfully shortened version, the format for the rom-com format. How did you approach storytelling within this tight little?
Yeah, it was tough. It went through many versions. At the beginning, there was actually in the earlier versions of the script, there were other characters in there, like Dani had an older sister and Dani's dad made an appearance, and like there was even a moment where I had also included some more backstory on Angie. But as I went through the versions, I realized that with a short film, I only have enough time to really focus in on one character. So that's where, I put all of the attention on Dani and still sprinkling in little moments of like seeing the contrast between the moms and seeing a little bit of Angie's personality, but focus on Dani. And hopefully, if this can become a feature, then we'll for sure get the extended version of it.
Yes, and I also want to say the closing credits, it was not lost on me when Danny's mom was like, "Hey y'all, what's the 411?" I caught that reference. Moving on to our next filmmaker, Ashley.
Hi, yes. So I'm a writer, director, producer, Bronx born Puerto Rican. And I I wrote and directed and produced and did a million other things for Papi, which is about it follows the story of Hector Jr. And his navigation of reconciliation. Trying to stay true to himself during his father's COVID-19 uh, situation. Basically, his father's in the hospital. So he's, going through the motions and has a lot of themes of a lot of different things, but mostly COVID and, self-identity and having to face reconciling with someone that you may not, have a good relationship with. So
So this film was such a real and difficult topic to tackle, especially for those in the queer community and especially for those coming from really traditional masculine cultures. Where did the kernel for the story evolve from?
So it actually started off as a play. It was actually an idea I had for a full-length play. I started like kind of developing it in 2019. And I had all these different ideas. Obviously, there was no COVID at that time. So it was very different, but it still was about a father in a hospital and then a gay man trying to figure out how to feel about, his relationship with his father. Um,
Mhm.
so I was developing it, and then as many writers do, we take a break from one story and we go write something else. So that kind of happened. I ended up directing a different film, and then um, what I did was COVID came in 2020 and I started kind of thinking about that story again. And then one of my very close friends, Nick, he was working for the New Rican Poets Cafe, which is like a very, very like famous poets theater in New York City. And they were doing an online theater festival. So it was going to be all online. So he kept pushing me to, write something for it. And then I was like, it was literally like the day before the last day it was due. And I was like, oh, maybe I can use this story that I have and kind of use everything that I've gathered because I even put out a survey, like an anonymous survey out to the queer community asking like, what was your experience coming out to your family? And it was a heavy focus on Latinx families because I was writing a story about a Puerto Rican family. So I used that data and all of the heartbreaking like answers that I got back. And I put it all into this script. And it was a Zoom play, technically. And then it won first place in the theater festival. And the lead actor reached out to me, Anthony Torres, and he was like, I think this should be a film. Like, we need to make this into a film. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that, but I'm down to do it. So fast forward, I mean, it took us like I think like 2 years to finally get it done. So it's been a long journey for Papi. So it's really exciting to finally see it out there and, for other people to see it, because it's such an important story.
It is. Just a follow-up question to that. Do you think in the film that he got his catharsis? Because he talks, but do you think he actually got his catharsis?
I think he did. And I think that it maybe was completed with his follow-up conversation with the nurse And then hearing, that his father did think about him and he wanted to connect but maybe didn't know how. I think him hearing that maybe completed that catharsis, but during the conversation and him talking and not really getting any answers back or not being able to hear his father, it was as good as he could get, right? So he, let it all out and left it on the table, and I think that he at least didn't have anything left to say, and that helped a
Yeah,
lot.
I love that answer. Moving on to now, thinking of you've got these films made now they're out on film, but also where are each of y'all in your festival run? And this time, let's start with Jessica.
So for Quinceañera, we're just beginning. Out on film was the second acceptance we got, I believe it was. So we're just in the beginning phase of it and super excited. I have a couple of friends surrounding Atlanta that want to go and a couple of family members, so very exciting.
Oh, well, you let them know I'll be there to say hello to them.
Okay, I will.
Let's see. Let's go with Remy, if you'll go next.
Yeah, similarly, I'm just at the beginning of my festival run. I just finished up the film in May of this year, so I'm still in the process of submitting places. Out on Film was the first acceptance for me, so that was so exciting. Yeah, I'm so sad that I won't be able to be there in person. But actually my lead actress or my co-lead, the woman who plays the abuela, is going to be there in person. So she'll be there to represent the Barbie Boy team, which is awesome. But yeah, we're just at the beginning of this process, and already just knowing that, I get to share on this platform and with this festival, it's like that's all you could ever want. So hopefully it just continues to grow. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Follow up to that, it's not so much a question as so I started watching it and I was like, is that Rose? Rose, oh my God. So Rose and I are friends, Facebook friends. And so I know her by a different last name. So when I was doing the IMDb stuff, I was like, Rose, oh, that's right. That's right. So and I texted her as soon as I saw. So can't wait
Oh,
to
that's
see her and
so
watch it with her.
yeah, she's like the absolute best. I still talk to her all the time. So that's awesome. I love that.
And then Ashley, where are you in the festival run?
Oh, we're actually we started submitting in February. So we've gotten into we had our world premiere in May. But so far we've gotten into 12 festivals, which is like such a blessing, and I'm so like excited and happy that it's, we're having a good run. But yeah, it was funny because when I found out about Out on Film, it was like number 10. And I was like, oh my God. Like it's like, like it was like so cool, and I was just so excited. But we premiered in May, but we started submitting in February. Yeah, so it's been quite the year of like going to different festivals. It's been so much fun.
It's such a hurry up and wait kind of thing, even like being on set. You submit and then you wait to hear back. Oh, so
I
that's
have
just
notifications that go into like next year, and I'm like, that's so weird. Like it's just it's a long time of waiting.
right. So much waiting. So, and I know I asked this a bit with Jessica, but I'd love to follow up that question and expand a little bit more. What is y'all's trick to creating these three-dimensional characters in such a short amount of time? And I guess if we can lump that into talking about the importance of queer representation, there's just so much in there. So y'all take that question wherever you want. But let's start with you, Ashley, and then we circle back around.
So the question was, what is what like my process?
Yeah, what's it? So, short films, like it's not a feature, so we haven't really cram it all. And you said this started as a play. What was your trick in deciding what needed to be like? What's your trick in showing these three-dimensional characters in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, I guess with shorts, I always think like, okay, how like what's the farthest into the story I can start the story for the audience? even though there's like all this stuff that in my mind has happened, right? But like, what's the farthest in the story can I start to where I can give just enough backstory where it's, not not too expository, but at the same time, like they understand who this is, what their life has been like. And I kind of did that with Hector and Papi. It was like, okay, we're dropping in. He's like, we're dropping into each family like what they were doing and during COVID. But once we're with Hector, we don't see the other characters like spaces. We're never with them again. We're only with Hector. And like I just did like a little bit of each character, and I dropped him in doing an audition because I wanted people to know he's an actor. And that was a big deal during that time. Like actors just like were thrown into doing self-tapes.
Oh my
It was
God,
like, oh
that
yeah, we're
was
still doing.
intense.
Yeah, like the industry was kind of like it kept going, but there was all these different like, precautions being taken, but the actors they had to audition like and just figure it out, like figure out how to make yourself look good and sound good and all this stuff. So I just, it's like giving the audience as much as they can to as much as you can to for them to feel invested, right? That's what it's about. Like they need to feel invested to feel interested and want this character to win. So I think that's like the most important thing, just making sure that you give them just enough so that they're like looped in and wanna know this person more and follow their story.
I love that answer. All right, you're going next.
Me? Sorry.
Yes, yes, you.
Great. Sorry, my Wi-Fi can be a little weird. No, I think Ashley summed it up really, really well. Like you want to get in and get out. But I think for me, like telling the story of these two characters, like it was just really important to me to feel like very grounded in their daily life and their routine, which is why we watch for for a lot of the film, like we're watching things that are quote unquote mundane, like taking a shower, like doing the laundry, like cooking dinner, like getting changed in the bathroom, like small things like that that sorry, my dog. I will take you out in a moment. Um, that when there's more than meets the eye, right? But we're still very grounded in this very like humanist world with Simon and his grandmother. And that was always just really important to me to feel like you don't have to be queer, you don't have to be even Latin to understand like what it's like to just sit in your grandma's house and have a day with her. And like I think most of us are very familiar with generational divides and how that can put a real tension and strain on our relationships, even when there's so much love and so much respect there. So yeah, I think for me, it was just like grounding the story in their world and making that world not small, but very relatable and doing those small little things that felt like everybody could relate to them, but showing it through Simon's worldview. Um, yeah, that and rewriting a million different versions of the script. I think there's no such thing as too much rewriting, like
No,
that is how you get your story to where it needs to be. So
it's never finished until it's on the festival circuit, and then you're like, I think I'm done rewriting it.
very true.
Jessica, you're next. I know you answered this a little bit, but if you don't mind expanding just a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, for the characters, one of the main things, and one of my friends, she helped me out a lot with this, is just trying to pinpoint every scene and making sure with every scene you're revealing something new about the character. And that's something I really tried to do with Dani, where at the beginning we see more of her like angsty side. And then there's a moment where it's the first conversation she has with Angie. And right there, we see a bit more of her softer side, her opening up, feeling a little more comfortable, like this person understands her and is relating to her. And then we see more of her like butting heads with her mom, like that teenager feeling of like, no one understands me, like the world's against me, and like So we see a lot of sides to her, and I try to incorporate that with every scene, which is like why at the end, when we see that big moment with Dani and Angie, it really, well, for me at least, it hits my heart every time just because all throughout, um, it was kind of hard for Dani to open up. So finally in this moment, she opens up a little bit, and it's really nice to see.
It was beautiful. I want to thank you all again so much for taking the time to join for this interview and tell our viewers about your films. And remember, you all can watch this incredible block of four short films, which screens this Saturday, October 5th at 4:30 at Outfront Theater, and also screening virtually from October 6th through October 13th. And y'all, I can't wait to see y'all films again on the big screen.
Thank you, Ava. So nice to meet you and so nice to meet all the other filmmakers. Congrats to everybody.
Thank
Yes,
you.